So the first speaker for today, who will start us out, represents a community that has been here long before most of our ancestors have been here. But Jeannie Chandal from Onondaga in central New York.
Hello, welcome. I just want to thank everybody for coming here and showing support for this effort. And
you're going to have to speak up louder.
Hello, I just want to thank everybody for coming out for this important issue, this urgent, dangerous thing that's coming our way. On behalf of everybody here, we realize we have to protect the water, we have to protect the Mother Earth, and always be thankful for what we have, and protect it and keep it that way, and don't ever give up, and yes, let's change things.
So our next speaker is someone I have a privilege, because almost 3 years ago when I first came to Albany, and the first time I started talking about what was going on with gas drilling, and I was really concerned that people in Albany were not paying attention, there was one person that I saw diligently taking notes while everybody was testifying about this new type of technology and new use of chemicals to extract the gas. And that's Barbara Lifton from Tompkins County.
Thank you, everybody. Well, you know, that's me. I'm a former teacher. So a high school English teacher, you know, we teach kids to take notes, do their research. So, you know, I have to take my own notes and practice what you preach, right? So thank you. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Jeannie. Welcome, welcome, all of you. Thank you all for coming to your state capital, your state government. A state government that is supposed to be a democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we are all learning once again that effective and responsive democratic government doesn't just happen by itself. Sometimes I hear from people, you know, just go do it. Go to Albany and get it done. And do it right, of course. But don't bother me about any of that. Don't bother me. You go do it. You figure it out. Don't expect me to pay attention. Don't expect me to engage with my government, to study issues, to weigh in. That's your job, sometimes people say to legislators, to the governor. Well, yes, it is my job, but in a democracy, it's everybody's job. Democracy is not a spectator sport, as someone once said. And when people start behaving as if it were, the special interests are only too happy to walk in and start calling the shots. That's what's happened in our country and in our state in too many areas over the past 30 years, and it's certainly happened in the area of energy policy. But here you are, all of you, people from all over our state, saying no. We are not going to let the biggest, most powerful multinational corporations on the planet do what they did, do here in New York, what they did in Colorado, what they did in Texas. The mayor of Dish, Texas, you all know, Calvin Tilling, moving out of Dish, saying it's not a healthy place for his children. They've got asthma. They've got other serious illnesses. The mayor is moving out of his village, out of his town, for all the damage done by hydrofracking. The damage done in Texas and Oklahoma, and now the damage that's happening right next door in Pennsylvania, polluting clean water, hurting people's health, while they drill for yet more fossil fuel, whose byproduct, greenhouse gases, Methane 72 times more potent than CO2. It's just astounding. Those greenhouse gases are choking the planet and already killing people around the globe. We know that. Climate change is here, and it's killing people around the globe, and we have to, in New York, say no more drilling for fossil fuels. And I'm sure many of you have heard already that Bob Howarth at Cornell will be releasing the study later this week that shows that indeed methane gas drilling, the whole life cycle, drilling for gasoline, natural gas, if you will, is dirtier than coal. Dirtier than coal when you look at the whole life cycle. It makes no sense at all as national energy policy, as state energy policy, as energy policy for the globe. So thank you. So thank you all. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for weighing in, for studying this issue, for practicing democracy, for being here as citizen lobbyists. Thank you for all the work you've done and all the work I know you're going to continue to do. And I know for every one of you here, you're going to go grab another person, to mobilize another person, a friend, a neighbor, one of your, college-age kids, and have them weigh in as well. We need to keep growing this movement. I'm going to continue working here in Albany to hold our DEC's feet to the fire. And I have an ask for you. I have an ask for you today. I want to ask you to do something for me. I have drafted over the last couple of days a letter to the governor based on the reporting that came out in the New York Times a few weeks ago, saying we need to stop now. We need to pause in this SGIS process. We need to stop now. We know the scoping document was not adequate. This SGIS is being built on a bad foundation. It's a house that cannot stand. And I've asked for a 30-day comment period now. Stop now. Have a 30-day comment period based on the issues that were raised, things that we long suspected, but now we've got the data to prove that they don't know what to do with the wastewater. They're not dealing with public health issues. And the process that's going on now in New York is just inherently flawed. Stop now. Open it up for a public comment period. So I've got this letter. I'm sending it out to all of my legislative colleagues today, assembly members, senators, both parties, both houses. And I ask you, as you visit your senators, your assembly members, if you would ask them, please sign on to Assemblywoman Lifton's letter, the Liftin letter to the governor, calling for a public comment period. Can I ask you, will you do that for me today? Great. Thank you. That's something very concrete you can do, very important to do. We'll keep having the rest of the discussion. We'll keep pushing forward. But I think this is a very important step we can take in this important battle. And you give me great hope. Your response just now and all of your responses give me great hope that our democracy can be rekindled here at the state level, I hope nationally as well, into a government where we call the shots, not the multinational corporations pretending they have some vision for our country and state, but they do not. Their vision is simply about higher and higher corporate profits. Where we say what we want and what we need, and we know we need a new energy policy for our country based on renewable, sustainable energy, wind, solar, geothermal. We have the smarts, we have the technology. All we have to do is switch the subsidies off of fossil fuels. $80 billion a year of our federal money is going to more fossil fuels. Take it off fossil fuels, put it onto renewables. so that our children and our grandchildren, and I have folks in both categories, can continue to thrive on this beautiful, wonderful Mother Earth. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for your work. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Senator Avella from the 11th Senate District.
First of all, I want to say that two of my colleagues are not here yet, Senators Liz Krueger and Joe Adabo, and the three of us have introduced comprehensive legislation, a package of legislation to open up the process, to put in, at a minimum, very strong regulations. And I know they'll be here later to talk about it. But I want to talk about one number I want you to remember, 4220. 4220 is my bill to ban hydrofracking in the state of New York forever. I know I'm preaching to the choir, so I'm not going to stand here and tell you all the reasons we shouldn't be doing hydrofracking. You know what the reasons are. We have to convince everybody else. A couple of weeks ago, I happened to watch on the History Channel a documentary about what happened to the Egyptian Empire. Why all of a sudden did it disappear in a couple of decades? And at the end of the show, the analysis came about that it was because the watershed disappeared. They were left without clean drinking water and water for the crops. What's going to happen if we allow hydrofracking to continue in New York State? New York State may become a desert, just like the Egyptians did. We have to stop this. The ban has to go into effect. Let's all work together to make sure that happens. No hydrofracking, vertical or horizontal.
All right. So the next speaker is Senator David Carlucci.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here today. It's so important that we continue and be vigilant in our advocacy to prevent hydrofracking in New York State. Now, and like the previous speakers, they did such a great job in talking about some of the important issues, and I'm not going to preach to the choir. You have a lot of people to talk to today, to the senators, the assembly people that might not know the issues. But I think what's important to remember here today is that we're convinced. But this is an issue that we think is extremely important, is on the top of our minds. But so many of our neighbors, if you ask the question about hydrofracking, they probably don't even know what it is. And it's something that we have to remember that and talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends, explain to them what's at stake. Because I have a question. Is there anything more important than our children's health? No! And that's what we have to put forth. The economics are debatable. And I think that we would all agree that the economics aren't in the favor of hydrofracking. You know, you can't drink money. I like the sign right there. It's so important. So with that, I'll be extremely brief. I look forward to working with all of you on this issue to keep hydrofracking out of New York State. Go forth, talk to your neighbors, talk to your legislators, and convince them that we have to do this for ourselves, for our future and future generations. Thank you so much for being here, and God bless you all.
So this is our chance today. This is our chance to speak out across this Capitol to the governor and to all these electeds. We're real people and we have real concerns. And that was my way of killing a few minutes so Liz Krueger could say hello to people, because she just got here and she's our next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, a really tall person before me. Hi, I'm Liz Krueger. I'm from New York City. I am a member of the state Senate, and I am really glad you were all here, because did you see that story about how much money the lobbyists are spending to ensure they can do hydrofracking in New York State? They spent $1.5 million last year. Boo! But you know what? You all add up to a whole lot more than $1.5 million. And I'm a little late because I had a meeting with the governor, but some of my other colleagues were here already, and Senator Joe Adabo and Senator Tony Avella and I have a clean water package. We want to make sure that we have transparency. We don't want hydrofracking in New York State because we know it hasn't been proved safe. But we know that what we have to make sure as legislators, that we never, ever allow any process to go forward where we don't know what chemicals are being used, what the outcomes of chemicals being used are on our environment, where those chemicals are going, where's that water going if it's been polluted by those chemicals, and whether we as a society have any way to make sure that wastewater is safe. So my view is, if we can't make it safe, we're not doing it, and we won't know whether it's safe unless we have all the information. So it's critical that you and I as citizens, and my colleagues standing behind me, make sure that no law in New York State is ever passed that it would allow companies to destroy our clean water system, and that they have an obligation to report to you and you and you and you and all of us what the hell they're doing and what kind of process they're using before they start. Thank you. All right, so no fracking. We're going to make sure that New York is not Pennsylvania. We've learned the lessons of what happened in other states, and we're not going to let that happen here. Thank you.
So our next speaker is another person that has been on this issue for a long time, that all of a sudden, when he found out that they were going to be hydrofracking upstate, and that equaled the potential pollution for 9 million people, he jumped on the issue. Brian Kavanagh.
Thank you very much. So I'm Brian Kavanagh. I represent a district on the east side of Manhattan. But I understand that this is not just an issue for our 9 million people who rely on the New York City watershed. This is an issue for every part of this state. And it is a great thing to see so many of you gathered here today, because we are up against some very powerful adversaries in this fight. And we are going to need not only all of you, but as has already been said, we're going to need you to motivate your neighbors and your friends and your colleagues and even your local businesses to understand that this process that is proposed for our state promotes tremendous dangers, not only for our environment, not only for our drinking water, but for our economy and for every community. And that oil and gas industry, they want to convince us of a few things. They want to convince New Yorkers of a few things. They want to convince New Yorkers that what they're proposing today is just a new and improved version of what they've been doing for years and years and years in this country. That this is, your grandfather's drilling, but just maybe with a little more effectiveness and a little more gas. And we know that that's not true. We know that this is a massive industrial process that not only affects the site of the wells, it affects the roadways in and out of those wells. It affects the water sources where millions and millions of gallons of water are going to need to be drawn from so that that water can be poisoned and used in this process. We know that it can affect the groundwater around those sites. And we know that this kind of process, if built out across the state, will profoundly change every parts of the state, and not for the better. And they want to convince us of one more thing. They want to convince us, as they do on so many issues, that the role of government here is maybe to tinker with some regulations, maybe to sort of take a look at some things, but mostly they want to convince you that the role of your government is to step out of the way and let them do whatever is in their corporate interest, whatever delivers them a profit, whatever will allow them to produce gas for this economy that has a never-ending need for that. And we've seen that on so many issues. We've seen it on worker rights. We've certainly seen it on other environmental issues. What I'm here to say to you today is that that is not the view of government that we are going to espouse. This is your government. This is our government. And in a democracy, we understand that this is not about pitting a single industry against the will of the entire people. This is a matter of making sure that we have policies that will protect all of us, that will be in the best interest of everyone. And the only way we're going to do that, getting back to where I started, this is a good crowd, but there are 19 million people in this state. Many of them want to see this process go forward. Don't kid yourself. It's not just executives that want to do this. There are people who have been sold a bill of goods. In some cases, they've sold some. They already stand to profit from this. We need a huge, continuous movement that will fight this process until we get the answers to all the questions that Liz Krueger mentioned before. So I know we have a lot of speakers here today. Let's, continue the fight. Get there. That building over there is the Legislative Office building. That's the Capitol. Deliver your message today, and then get on back to your communities and make sure this message is delivered to everyone back home who really needs to be talking about this. Thank you.
And for those of you that were here last year pushing certain bills, we have someone to speak who put himself out there and introduced a ban bill last year, a moratorium bill last year. So the next speaker is from the 4th Assembly District, Steve Englebright.
Good morning. It is so wonderful to see all of you here to bring your message of concern, and there's a lot of reason to be concerned. And I say that not just as a legislator, I say that as an individual who has a master's degree in geology. I'm a geologist. I can tell you that you're being given the bum's rush as a matter of policy. You're being given misinformation when they say that there is no hazard to this process. They know better. And so do you. It's so very, very important that we take a good, hard look before we leap, because we're talking about ultimately not just a little bit of profiteering that might occur. We're looking at the quality of life and the very viability of large parts of the land surface of our state. What's at stake is not just a minor bit of activity, but a complete change of land use and potentially the destruction of surface waters and rivers and lakes with frack water mixing with our pure water. That is something that before we in the legislature go forward, and before you allow the legislators, my colleagues, to go forward and give approval, we need to do something about it. For one thing, let me just make an observation. The Department of Environmental Conservation does not have the staff right now to oversee this process. The last 3 years has seen dramatic reductions in the staffing of the agency that has to oversee this process. So the very first thing that we should be doing is restaffing the Department of Environmental Conservation. The next thing that we should do is pass my bill. It gives a 5-year moratorium. That sounds like a long time, but you know how long the gas has been in the ground? How long? It's been 360 million years. Can we wait 5 years to know what we're looking at? I think that's prudent. Some are going to say that's excessive. They wanted this approval yesterday. People in hell want ice water. We want pure water. That is the legacy of New York. That is why we have communities all across the face of this beautiful state. And there's something else. I chair the Committee on Tourism and Parks. We have in tourism a mighty industry, a $45 billion industry. Do you think people will come here to look at our fracking pits? Do you think people will come here to play chicken with oversized rigs on country roads? Do you think they'll come here to look at and recreate in our rivers if they turn yellow and purple? I don't think so either. And what's at stake is a $45 billion industry. Our tourism industry that is able to take advantage of the natural beauty of our land. And some of those lands are public lands. And let me just say, it's so very, very important that we protect the old-growth forests in our largest state park at Allegheny State Park. And if you want to see what happens, go across the line just south of Allegheny State Park and look at what has happened to the National Forest in Pennsylvania. It looks like Verdun after the siege. It looks bombed out. It looks desecrated. And in fact, it has been desecrated. That should not happen to our state lands. It should not happen to Allegheny Park. It should not happen to our state forests in the southern tier. It should not happen at all that we have to give up those things that define us as a culture and as a people in this state so that we move to a questionable future with natural gas. I'm also the sponsor of legislation for creation of a more viable solar industry in this state. We need renewable energy and gas that has the byproducts of radioactivity should not be spread on our roads because of the salt. That salt is beguiling. It comes with heavy metals. It comes with all sorts of... They still don't tell us what's in the fracking fluids, but we know it's full of things that if you put it into your body, you will probably die from the fracking fluids. One more thing. We have just introduced legislation to ban... This legislation doesn't yet have a number, but it was introduced on Friday. We should have a number either today or tomorrow. It would ban the acceptance of fracking fluid into a municipal sewer plant. Municipal sewer plants work one of two ways. Either you have bugs that live in the gravel in the plant that break down, it's really meant to break down human waste and mammalian waste. If you put radioactivity in there, if you put heavy metals, if you put salt, you kill the bugs. The sewer plant stops working. The other way is reverse osmosis, and salt will clog that up. Either way, if you bring fracking fluids to sewer plants, those plants, which we have millions, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars invested into, become dysfunctional. And what comes out of them goes into our streams and surface waters as poisons. I think we need to ban that particular practice here in the state of New York. So I thank you all. I thank you all so very, very much for helping to reinforce the message of caution. And I really look forward to seeing many of you in my office today. But you'll be preaching to the converted in my case. Please talk to my colleagues, talk to the governor, and God bless you all. Hope to see you all again and again. Thank you.
So next up, what we're going to do here is break for a second in the speakers and acknowledge who has made all of this possible today. And to do that is Eric Weltman from Food and Water Watch.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. It takes a powerful movement. It takes a powerful movement to go up against the oil and gas industry and win. And that's what we've got here today. A powerful movement, a grassroots movement made up of people, groups, and organizations from across New York State. So let's give a shout out to the 48 organizations that are making this movement, that are making this event, that are making this day so